Scene begins with a depressed boy named Etsuro Kurosu lying in bed who is contemplating taking his own life. While trying to end his life, the furniture falls, causing a hole in the wall. He collapses on the floor and notices a ray of light coming from the hole. He gets to his feet and looks through the hole. On the other side of the wall, he notices a beautiful girl named Rio Miyaichi eating. He then begins to spy on her frequently. Etsuro is peeping through the hole and watching Rio one fine day, but he can't get a good enough look at her. Hence, he approaches Rio's door and begins looking through the door's hole. When another girl from outside notices him, Etsuro pretends to be working. The girl drops some food for her brother at the downstairs door and leaves. Because he is jobless and hungry, Etsuro goes downstairs and starts stealing the food. Rio, who is upstairs, observes him and they both introduce themselves and start talking. Rio soon invites Etsuro to dinner. He enters her room and looks around, where he has a closer look at the wall hole on her bookshelf until the meal arrives. They both sit and eat together. Etsuro compliments the food and asks if he can have more. Hearing this, Rio gladly says yes and even gives him the option to join her for dinner anytime he desires. Following the meal, Etsuro happily returns to his room. He then watches Rio through the hole until she falls asleep. One day while they are eating, Etsuro asks her if she is annoyed by him because he is jobless and always comes to eat in her room. However, Rio says that they can even live together. Slowly, Etsuro starts falling in love with the girl who he thinks is perfect in every manner. Later that night, Etsuro considers not spying on her through the hole, but he can't suppress his temptations for long and he ultimately gives in. When he looks through the hole, he notices Rio entering her room with another man. Etsuro wonders if the guy is her boyfriend, but after a few moments, she eliminates him and smiles in an evil way. Out of shock, Etsuro pushes the wall, resulting in a book to fall in her room that blocks the hole. He is astonished that the innocent Rio has just killed someone. Later, while a distraught Etsuro is thinking about what he just saw, he hears a knock on his door and opens it to find Rio with dinner in her hands. She also seems to be in love with him and suggests that they eat at his room this time. While they eat, Rio tells Etsuro not to feel alone and unloved. She returns to her room after their dinner, and Etsuro pushes the book blocking the hole and looks through it. He suspects hallucination after seeing Rio, but then he notices another lady, Meiji Reina. At this point, he becomes more suspicious of Rio. The next morning, Rio calls Etsuro from behind as he walks out to do his laundry. She instructs Etsuro to use her washing machine and expresses a desire to eat dinner at his house. Etsuro happily agrees, but he quickly recalls the incident from the night before. However, he manages to convince himself that it isn't possible because he finds Rio cute and attractive. The next night, Etsuro is preparing the table in his room for dinner when he hears a sound from Rio's room and sees another guy through the hole. Rio eliminates the man in the same manner, but this time Etsuro realizes it is not a hallucination. He screams loudly in fear, which attracts Rio's attention, and she starts chasing him with a knife. Etsuro escapes and climbs to the building's roof, but Rio pursues him and catches him with the knife in her hand. There, Rio confronts Etsuro about how he knows her secret, and he reveals everything about the hole. He also expresses his feelings for Rio and finally falls to his knees, ready to die. Rio then points the knife at his throat and asks for his final wish. Etsuro expresses his desire to date Rio. Hearing this, Rio licks the blood on his mouth and kisses him. The next day, they begin dating each other. Etsuro gets a job at a department store. While tearing up the boxes with a blade, he is reminded of Rio and all the atrocities she has committed, which disturbs him deeply. Later, when he returns home from work, Rio greets him through the hole. The next morning, Rio takes Etsuro to her college and introduces him to her friends as her boyfriend. This delights Etsuro as he has never been loved by anyone. Etsuro then considers enrolling in the same college to protect her from the other boys, but Rio reminds him that she is a murderer. Etsuro then asks her how long she intends to keep doing this, but Rio does not respond. As they are dating, she suddenly puts on a raincoat and starts killing people. She kills people when she thinks they should die. Tired of her actions, Etsuro one day questions her about why she kills people. He inquires as to whether she has a personal rivalry with those individuals. However, Rio reveals to him that she has compiled a list of all the bad people and is executing them one by one. As he listens to this, he wonders if she's the type of person who gives justice to others. He is so deeply in love with her that he chooses to ignore her murderous side. The next day, Etsuro reads the newspaper at work and is surprised to find no mention of Rio's murders. After his work, he returns home and meets a boy named Kawasaki, who lives in the same apartment. In fact, Kawasaki is the same person from whom he used to steal food. One day while at work, Etsuro meets Kawasaki's sister, and she introduces herself as Haruko. Etsuro informs her that she is not required to pay because she has previously supported him. Etsuro returns home from work and attempts to contact Rio through the hole, but receives no response. He then looks through the hole and sees a message from Rio, which says to meet her at 10 p.m. He showers and waits until it's 10 o'clock when he hears a noise coming from Rio's room. He rushes and sees through the hole, and this time he sees Kawasaki bound up and Rio about to kill him. Etsuro yells at her to stop, but Rio tells him to be quiet and observe. She then finishes off Kawasaki. After a while, the same lady, Meiji Reina, arrives with a cleanup crew and begins cleaning the room so that no evidence is found. After this, Etsuro enters Rio's room and inquires to Reina as to why she is doing all this. Reina responds that many people in the world, including herself, require corpses and displays an earring made of a human finger. Etsuro wonders why they chose Kawasaki, who appears to be a gentleman. Hearing this, Reina takes Etsuro to Kawasaki's room, where he sees blood everywhere and learns that Kawasaki used to dissect and brutally kill cats. Reina also warns Etsuro that Rio may kill him in the same manner. When he hears this, Etsuro becomes terrified and he immediately returns to his room to sleep. The next morning, Rio knocks on Etsuro's door, but he does not open it, so Rio enters through the balcony. Rio approaches to hug Etsuro, but he behaves rudely to Rio and eventually walks away. He meets Haruko at his place the next day and inquires about her brother. Rio appears on the balcony at the same time and invites Haruko to her room to wait for her brother, but Etsuro forbids Haruko from doing so. After Haruko leaves, Etsuro asks Rio if she'd kill Haruko, but she says no. The following day, Etsuro receives another message from Haruko inviting him to the coffee shop to inquire about her brother. Just then, a black van arrives and pulls Etsuro inside. He sees Reina inside the van and informs her that Haruko is looking for her brother Kawasaki. Reina mocks it, claiming how she can find the person who is already dead. In the following scene, Etsuro goes to the coffee shop to meet Haruko. She tells Etsuro that she has filed a complaint with the police station because her brother hasn't returned home in a long time. Haruko also wonders if her brother has gone on a trip, and she seeks Etsuro's assistance in speaking with the landlord. When the landlord opens the door to Kawasaki's room, much to Etsuro's surprise, everything has been cleaned up and looks to be like a normal room. Seeing this, Etsuro exhales a sigh of relief, and the duo depart from there. Etsuro sees Rio on the way back with another guy who has his hand around Rio's shoulder. Later, while they're eating dinner together, Etsuro inquires about the man, but Rio counters and tells him to avoid Haruko. They both appear to be envious. Suddenly, Rio throws away her food in rage. But Etsuro tries to persuade her and hugs her from behind. He tries to kiss her, but she stops him by pointing out the chopstick at his neck and saying, "Not yet." In the following scene, Etsuro meets Haruko at a coffee shop where she informs him that she is more suitable for him than Rio. She also tells him that Rio will not change for him. Haruko departs from there, telling him she will return the next day to await his response. While returning home, Etsuro is kidnapped by the gangster group and taken to their hideout. The gang leader orders him to persuade Rio to murder, but Etsuro refuses. As a result, the gang beats Etsuro and allows him to flee. Etsuro and Rio start fighting after they get home. Etsuro tells her to stop killing people, but she refuses, and their fight causes them to be separated. Even after the breakup, Etsuro peeps through the hole and sees Rio killing people, but instead of smiling, she cries. Etsuro realizes that Rio is killing people on orders from the gangsters, and she is doing all this to protect him. Enraged, Etsuro decides to go to the gangster hideout. He then confronts them not to force Rio to murder people. He tries to attack them with a knife, but since he has no fighting skills, he fails miserably. The gang members beat him to a pulp, and as the leader is about to execute him, a gas grenade rolls inside and blasts, which makes everyone suffocate. Just then, Rio shows up in a raincoat and a mask and realizes that in order to save Etsuro, she has to kill every single one of the gangsters. Without saying a word, she uses her skills and slays everyone in the room. After eliminating everyone, Rio picks up Etsuro and places him on a couch. He wonders why she didn't smile after killing all those goons like she usually does, to which she replies that it's no longer enjoyable. He becomes happy and kisses her, assuming she will no longer kill anyone. But a few moments later, she stabs Etsuro's stomach with her knife as she always wanted to see her love die, and finally says, "I love you." Etsuro responds with "I love you" before collapsing to the ground. In the following scene, Rio meets Reina and talks about leaving the city. She also confirms that Etsuro is not going to peep anymore. Just then, an injured Etsuro comes with a walker. Turns out that Rio didn't kill him, but just made him pass out. In the final scene, both Etsuro and Rio embark on their new journey, and Rio promises Etsuro that she will no longer kill anyone.